Hey angels, welcome to the channel of Angel Guidance with myself, the Spirit of Jade. In today's message, carrying on with my series which involves growing and evolving into the person you want to be, I want to speak on honesty, which is very difficult to do. Difficult is a bit of an understatement. We have to practice honesty with a space of no shame, no judgment. So one of the reasons I think that honesty is such a difficult thing to do when we're moving through life is because when we're honest, sometimes we've been rejected, sometimes we've been shamed, belittled, made to feel like we should have kept our truth behind and within our own sacred space. Except every time we do that, we are dimming our light, we are moving through life without being honest with ourselves. In the different components of honesty, I think there's being honest where we're practicing honesty with speaking in our truth. But then there's honesty within reflecting with ourselves, facing those shadows, honouring those demons that want to be seen, because we can't shame them into love. We have to accept them as they are and realise how we can move through those with that love that our shadows are so desperately seeking. When I've sat in reflection of being honest with myself, sometimes honesty is seen in recognising that I've held on to things for too long, realising that I'm not giving myself enough space to really sit within that honesty and think, where is it that I should be more honest with myself? One of the things that I recognise within society is we choose to live in denial, and most time it's out of coping mechanisms. Usually it's because we're self-soothing, we're avoiding. And it's only natural to do that because it takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of strength to really say, no, this isn't working for me. This isn't something that I should keep doing. This is something that's keeping me back, keeping me held back. What it is that I want to highlight is when you move through that honesty and you really give yourself that space and being raw with yourself. This doesn't have to be an exposed centre. This doesn't have to be exposed within your circle or with anyone. It can be within your own arena. You don't have to explain yourself to anyone, but explain yourself to yourself will give you a lot more clarity. It might give you more sanity as well in terms of where it is that maybe you are at fault, where it is that you can move forward with certain situations with truth and honesty, that maybe you're playing a part in the dysfunction of situations, or maybe you're realising that you've been manipulated to the extent where your truth and your honesty has just gone straight over your head. When I've experienced dishonest people and people who have made me realise that I've been over trusting, I try not to reflect and think that I'm in the wrong, because at the end of the day, it's not something that I control when people act in a certain way. Except what I do have to take accountability for is that I've ignored the signs. Not to say that there are always signs, darling in the background, but usually we're following that intuition and that inner compass that's giving us those niggling feelings, and we're choosing to ignore. I know of it myself when I've journeyed through this. When I want something so bad, I ignore the red flags. I think it's something that we learn through, and it's an experience to remember. One thing to take note on when thinking about honesty is it doesn't have to be this big leap. I was just about to say that and she said big, and she had a big leap. It's that you can start with little segments of honesty. You don't have to unpack everything all at once. You've got to think the accumulation of dishonest situations or feelings or reflections that you haven't done have usually been accumulated over a course of a long period of time. And it's important for you to recognise that how long it took you to get here is going to take you just a little bit more to get back. Or at least not even to get back, but to process these things. It's going to take you a little longer to process these things. And that's natural. You've got time. Don't rush the process of moving forward and reassessing and evaluating and reflecting, because you need to give yourself grace when you're moving through certain situations, especially when you're reflecting, when you're being honest. And please recognise within yourself that when you're being honest, you know that you're coming from a pure led place, and that conscience will be clear. One on the timer as I said that. And recognising that it's for your own self-satisfaction, it's for your own peace of mind, where you can then move forward with more knowledge, with more awareness that you've moved through certain experiences. What I think we forget within the world and as a society is, as I said, we shame people into not being honest, and that impacts how people show up in the world. But one of the key things is we're all experiencing life for the first time. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to experience things from different angles, different lenses. And in saying that, we're going to have different perspectives. Moving back to that reflection of facing the shadow, moving with the demons, and really acknowledging them for where they are is one of the first steps to really moving into the new direction you want to go into. And again, moving and evolving into that person you want to be. When I reflect about honesty within my own journey, I think about where it is that maybe I've lied to myself, where I've believed that I've told myself I'm doing my best, when in reality I'm just about plodding along. And sometimes when I think about that, I think, well, maybe I was in a state of mind where I lacked accountability, I lacked discipline, I lacked the awareness of what it is that I really wanted to do. And then when I think about it behind the layer of that, I think, is it because I've shamed myself? Is it because when I don't succeed and do something, I shame myself into the element of, well, you wasn't going to do it anyway. If you'd done it, it wouldn't have been that good. You know, what's the point? And that's usually deep rooted in the effects of being belittled. And this is what I touched on just earlier in the video, where we've been shamed for actually speaking and being honest, and realizing that some people don't like honesty and can't handle honesty because they're not honest with themselves. Being honest within a setting where people aren't willing, people can't handle, people aren't receptive to your honesty, it's going to bring up some turmoil within them, which then ultimately reflects onto you. This is where projection becomes quite a tepid thing to maneuver with, because not knowing yourself enough, you take that reflection and projection as an issue of your own, when in reality it's not. It's that you've brought that honesty, you've brought that light, and you've shone on their shadows. I don't want to sound as if this is pretentious in any way, because it's not. It's just the fact that we're understanding ourselves enough to realise where it is that we're in spaces that aren't allowing us to be in our truest form, that aren't honouring us in our honesty. Because without honesty, what do we have? Without trust, what do we have? We have nothing. There's no solid foundation without trust, without honesty, without that raw vulnerability that you know you are in a safe space. When I think about safe space, it's that it's not something that is just automatically there. This is something that is built on. This is a journey. This is a practice, if you will, where you encounter people and believe in people enough that you can be honest with them and you can trust them. And that's a raw thing to do. It's a very vulnerable situation to put yourself in. But again, that's where you trust, as I mentioned in my last video. Without trust, without belief, without that honouring of giving someone the opportunity to show you if they can be honest with you, you're not going to get very far in terms of that certain relationship, or trialing with that relationship, I should say. The reason I've brought honesty as episode 4 is because honesty for me is one of the key components to being honest with yourself, how you show up in the world, and how you receive people as well. Because when you're manoeuvring through life, we come to realise that a lot of people have been plodding along, wearing masks, intentionally manipulating situations because they're not honest with themselves. When you actually see that that's something and understand that people operate from that space, you can understand more where you stay, where you go, where you're choosing to integrate yourself into. Because I think this is where a lot of people get caught up in situations and places that are misaligned for them, is because they're continuously being dishonest about what it is they need. They're belittling their needs. They're not being honest about where it is they're going, or they don't know where they're going. And we are journeying through life. I don't expect you to, we're not expected to know everything. But actually being honest with ourselves and recollecting and reflecting on, is this something that's in alignment with me? Is this something that I genuinely believe is for me? And only then can you move forward in the right direction. Something that I really want to highlight on for people who are experiencing and moving into that truth is that people will show you if they're being honest. A lot of the times people are manipulating and masking and moving through life, not being honest with themselves, which then barrels out onto how they show up for you. And really seeing that mask slip when you do, take it for what it is. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. And that could be a really difficult acceptance to have when you wanted someone to be something else, or you expected someone to be something else, or they showed you someone else and suddenly that starts to slip. First off, I want you to realise that seeing this is not something that you should beat yourself up on. Again, you shouldn't shame yourself into thinking, gosh, why didn't I see the signs, or why did I ignore the signs? Why didn't I give myself, why didn't I give my intuition that listening that it was asking for? So one key component I want to highlight on when we come to experience people that aren't living in their truth is that we can't take it personally. Recognising that that person is journeying on their own path and you've just managed to get caught up in that. Although I think there's also learning curves within every situation we have, every circumstance we encounter, and every experience we live. And it's up to us how we manoeuvre through that and how we take that as a learning opportunity. So one of the key things I want to say is listen to your intuition. Navigating through intuition can be very difficult, and I honour that, I really respect that. But when something doesn't feel right and you're seeing continuous patterns, the mask starts to slip, little red flags start to pop up, and instead of you being honest and reflecting on those, you decide to ignore because you want more. You want to give someone the benefit of the doubt. You want to believe that you're seeing things that aren't there. And that's only natural. That's only natural when you want something. And this is where not shaming yourself one-on-one on the timer then. Not shaming yourself into, gosh, why didn't I listen to myself? Or why did I ignore the red flags? Or I saw this then. And all of these things that you recognise back then, there is no changing what's happened. There is only progressing forward with the knowledge that you know now. So my key component for this episode 4 is recognise when the mask is slipping within yourself, within anyone else that you're encountering. And don't ignore it. As much as you want something, someone, to be in a place, to be in a time, wherever it is, don't allow yourself to go against that inner knowing within that inner compass that is nudging you and reminding you to be honest with yourself. So considering honesty, I want to highlight intuition as well. Intuition is one of those things where even the most grounded person can find it difficult to navigate through, and that's because we're experiencing things that are new to us. But when you look back into your repertoire of experiences and evaluate where it is that you've felt this feeling before, it can give you a bit of a compass and a direction and navigation towards if this is a good thing or a bad thing and what the impact may potentially be. When reflecting on that, I think it's important to recognise that you don't know what the outcome is, although intuition can sometimes tell you otherwise. But you've got to remember that this intuition that you've been gifted with is a gift. It is something that your body is receiving, and it's not something that should be ignored. It's really important that we take heed of our own intuition and that we honour our intuition, and this is where the honesty within ourselves is really important. not feeling bound by someone else's opinions or someone else's evaluations to the point where we don't listen to ourselves and listen to everyone else. I get quite passionate about this because for growing up, I've always been quite a very strong-minded, determined woman, young girl, I guess. And it's something that has helped me through life, and it's helped me gain more of a stronger reflection with my intuition, an inner knowing that I know is there and that's there for a reason. It's there to protect me, it's there to guide me. One of the things that I always think about when I think about honesty is that we have free will for a reason, and that when we're moving through life, it's important for us to be as honest as we can with ourselves and those we love and people, to the point where we're moving and allowing ourselves to move in the direction that we desire. One of the things that I reflect on when thinking about life, I don't usually find myself in situations I don't want to be in, just because sometimes standing alone is the best thing, and sometimes that honesty is how you end up alone. You end up alone because you're still finding the people that are actually going to be honest with you. So to finalise this message, I wanted to put a question out there to you. So my question for you, angels, is where is it that you're being honest with yourselves? Where is it that you can be more honest with yourselves? And just reflect and think, how can I give myself grace to move through this honesty? Don't beat yourself up. Don't make yourself feel small. Give that honesty the space that it deserves, and then you can move forward with more awareness and more knowledge and navigate life a bit more easier. Before actually coming into this video, I've heard a song lyric, which is a song I absolutely adore, by a wonderful woman called Milan. And the song I wanted to share with you is Song for a Pure Heart. I'll add a little link in the description box if I can do that, but I'll also put a screenshot just next to here so you can see too. The lyrics within the end of the song is a reminder of tuning back into who you are. I just thought it was really relevant to this whole series that I'm creating and wanting to share with you all. I wanted to let you know that episode 4 will be on loneliness, and loneliness is one of the things that I think is very important to reflect on when growing and evolving into the person we're becoming. We sometimes have to journey alone, and even when we still have support around us, we still feel very lonely because we're disconnecting from ourselves. But I won't delve too much in this right now. Just to close out, thank you again for tuning in. If you did like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe if you feel like doing that. And I'd welcome any insights, any comments. Let me know how the video made you feel, if there's any ideas or insights that popped into your mind. And thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful day or night whenever you're watching. Lots of love, angel guidance.